Hey everybody, I'm the Bat Otter, and today I'm going to be reviewing Frank Miller's Ronin Book 2. Now, if you haven't read the first one, you'd be right along there with me because I didn't read the first one. I didn't even know or have any interest about the first one until I heard about this one because Philip Tan has posted so many. Sorry, you guys can't see that. I'll try to keep the glare as best as possible. But Philip Tan the entire year almost has been posting little sketch cards that are no bigger than probably this, the size of my hand, of the main character, this lady here, the child, and these really cool, unique sketches with very interesting artistic qualities to them. The way that he completely whites out her gi that she wears throughout the story, and how it's very artistic, but at the same time very detailed. And while I'm not always a fan of these very artsy styles, Philip Tan manages to pull it off pretty well. So, getting into the story, to be quite honest, that's my biggest gripe with this entire book. Is the first half is pretty much a recap of everything that happened in Ronin, or a recap to the best of its ability. And honestly, I still don't know what happened in Ronin. It looks pretty dramatic. The layouts are done by Frank Miller, which you could totally tell that Miller drew this pose, drew this pose. It's very Miller in the layouts. You can definitely see the influence that Miller's art style, because he's so unique and has such a interesting approach to the way that he does layouts. His compositions are always very interesting to look at, and it could be bad, it could be good, but all in all, he's not afraid to throw a very unique composition at you and hope that it lands. Like I said, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but when you got a panel like this of the guy impaling himself with the sword and killing the monster, I heard that was a pretty big moment in the original story. And you have the suffering of this woman remembering that with all these tubes and pieces of tech being lodged inside of her. It's really cool. It's really fun to look at, and the black and white textures that they're able to do where it is in black and white and it's not in color. I feel like the black and white definitely makes the book better. It adds value. It's not black and white for the sake of being black and white. It's black and white for a pretty good reason. Now, throughout the story, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm going to be totally honest. Going through it, the antagonist is this big giant monster that they fight. It's not that interesting. The monster is spouting all this stuff. I know that Kayfabe complained about the dialogue throughout the story, and I think the dialogue was one of the more interesting parts because of the rhythm that it had, because of the repetition, and because of kind of the broken rhythm almost that it has throughout the story. So actually, I like the dialogue a little bit more than they did, but everybody's got their opinion. To be quite honest, though, the setting and the place that they're in, while the artwork is really good and the dialogue is pretty interesting, I personally couldn't tell what was happening most of the time. I mean, these people are being torn to shreds by technology. It's this weird future setting where technology is taken over, kind of like the Terminator, and she's navigating her way through it, and she's talking to the kid, and it's got all your Miller-isms in it, where it's like, you will serve us well, yes, you will serve us both well. And the dialogue here, like I said, it's that Miller repetition that they got. The alley's end of the world. The alley's end of the world. Summer, humid, hot. My stomach's a bone cold ice ball. Again, that voice. That ghastly voice. And I was watching Monkey Fighting Studios, do a review on this, and he pointed something out that I never would have caught, because I look at the artwork so closely all the time that by taking a step back and looking at the artwork from a bit of a distance, I could get a better appreciation for it. He pointed out that in these 3 pages here, or these 3 sets of splash pages, you actually get a lot of movement. So here you have a very close-up shot of the woman and the baby, and this massive silhouette of a hand, while you have the dialogue taking over the page. And what he mentions is, you see her peering around the corner. You see this massive hand coming at her. You turn the page, and in this same part of the composition, in all 3 pages, you get this spot. Here, there's nothing there. Then as you turn the page, the camera turns behind her. You have the brick wall here now, and you have another larger silhouette. So as you turn the page, the monster keeps on growing, and she keeps on getting smaller. You turn it again, and you see this huge face as she rushes out around the corner, reaching for the katana. As it's this massive face, she gets even smaller in the distance with all the motion lines there, until finally she's super tiny and the monster is so big he doesn't even fit on the page. I didn't notice that when I was reading it. I was too confused because black and white art, it doesn't register so well in my head all the time. But hearing that guy point that part out in the artwork, it just blew my mind, and I had so much more of an appreciation for some of the artwork in this book. And it feels really short because there are so many double page spreads. I mean, I just showed you 3 or 4 in a row. Here, there are plenty more throughout the entire book. And again, they are all incredibly well done as she's going to fight the monster. And the negative space that Philip Tan utilizes to create these very interesting and unique compositions that you could only really do in black and white are all very interesting to look at and fun to take apart and piece together and look at, okay, well, why is the white there and why is this here, and how did he do that, how did he manage this? And it gives you some very appealing pages to look at. But like I said, in terms of the overall story of the book, I'm not too clear on what's happening. I don't know where the plot's going. I don't know what the setup is. And it's not one of those where, oh, is it going to go in this direction? Is this going to happen? Is that going to happen? It's like more like, okay, what's going on here? The art is spectacular, but the story, I think, is lackluster, because as she's fighting, the baby, who was just goo goo gaga the entire time, starts to talk. And she's like, since when did you talk? And he says, since now. And so she hurls him into the belly of the beast for some reason, and he kills it by stabbing it. And the beast is like, you can't kill me, and then he does. And the beast falls over. I don't know. I feel like the fight was supposed to be very entertaining, very suspenseful, but it just wasn't, because it didn't feel suspenseful. There never felt like there was a lot of tension in the fight. And you get this final shot of the kid. And again, you get the Millerisms. I killed him, mama. I killed him dead. And that's very Miller in the writing. Would you believe that? You get a Frank Miller book, he acts like Frank Miller. And when I say that, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that whenever you don't have a story that I could really latch onto, all of a sudden the Millerisms just feel like that, Millerisms. And some people could like those, some people could dislike those. But at the end of the day, if there's no substance behind it, then it doesn't matter if you like it or dislike it. There's still nothing there. The artwork, on the other hand, like I said, is absolutely phenomenal, especially for having a black and white comic with screen tones provided. In American comics, it's very rare that you'll get something like that. And you get these wonderful pages, mostly done traditionally, I assume, because he does all the work in his sketches traditionally. I'm not totally sure if this is digital or not. I don't know how they do the screen tone overlay, but the fact of the matter is, Philip Tan's line work is all by hand with pen and ink, and it's phenomenal. Look at this, especially their eyes. He does the anime eye, and I'm not always a big fan of those, but the amount of emotion that you could take from the eyes alone of these characters, even whenever they're illustrated so small like they are here, I am absolutely enthralled by the eyes of these characters. The amount of detail that he puts into the eyes alone, it's incredible. And of course, the inker is equally incredible, because he's able to translate all of these things into inks from the pencils. So it's a lot of really good ideas put down on the page. I'm not a big fan of this style of cross-hatching. I never have been. It seemed cool in the 90s, but I just never really latched onto it. If you guys are a fan of that, of course, it's still great. Takes really good technical ability. I'm just not a fan. So yeah, I mean, to be quite honest, there's not a lot to say about the book, other than I love the artwork. I've always been a fan of Frank Miller, even on some of his more questionable work. Like I said, just look at the eyes, the hair as well. By the way, the way that he creates the shapes with the hair, and goes back in and uses whiteout, those Posca markers, to create this dry brush effect, but in the reverse way. Instead of going from white to black using black ink, he goes from black to white using white ink over the shapes he already created in black, which I think is a very cool way to illustrate hair that more artists should try, because the flow, everything about it is so much better in this. All the stylistic choices that Tan makes are all for the better and add so much to the value of the artwork. So yeah, artistically, I love the book. It was $8. For the amount of story in the book, I can't say that it was worth $8 for the story that was there. For the artwork, it's great. I mean, look at this panel. Look at this page here. Great stuff. But you gotta balance that with story. There wasn't enough story. I'm hoping the next one is gonna be better. I heard that this is supposed to not have a lot of story. I'm like, why are you gonna put out an $8 book that's supposed to not have a lot of story? That doesn't make sense to me. But I'm definitely gonna be picking up the next one. I'm gonna give it one more shot. If the next one has just as little story as this one here, I'm done. Philip Tan's artwork is amazing, but it's not $8 amazing. Other than that, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, tell me what you guys thought of the book, if you picked it up. And yeah, that's it. See ya.